Hello everyone, my name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about The Road Not Taken, written by Robert Frost. Now, before I go into summary analysis of this poem, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and/or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. In this poem, basically what happens in terms of the summary is that the narrator is in the woods, and he basically reaches a fork in the road, and he doesn't know which road to take. So he's like looking at the full foliage, he's looking at the trees, he's looking at the grass, he's looking at everything around him. And it really becomes a tough decision because he wants to make the best choice. He wants to make the most educated choice. He wants to make the choice that's going to make him the most happy or bring him the most success. So he's really thinking about this. He's just standing there in the fork in the road and he's just thinking about this. He's thinking about this. And then eventually what happens is he tells us that he took the road less traveled by. But there's a problem with this because before he took a road, he told us that he couldn't tell which one is different. So how can you tell us that you took the road less traveled by? In the poem, he looks at the ground and the footprints and the leaves and just trying to figure out which road had been worn down the most, but he couldn't tell. There was no way to tell. So when he tells us that he took the road less traveled by, and even he goes on to say that it made all the difference, it's hard to believe that because you couldn't tell which one was less traveled by. So at the end of the poem, you can't tell me that you took the road less traveled by. In terms of summary, in terms of what happened in the poem, that's pretty much everything that happens. This poem is very significant. A lot of people misinterpret it, and let's talk about the analysis and why a lot of people misinterpret it. Basically, this poem is kind of saying that life just happened, things just happened, and you can't control. Sometimes you can't control what happens in your life, and the narrator, when he's trying to fight to figure out, he's really thinking about it. He's really contemplating. He's really trying to figure out which road is better, but he can't. And life is like that. Sometimes you want to make the best choice. You want to make the choice that's going to bring you about the most success. But sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. Sometimes life just doesn't turn out that way. You can make the most beneficial choice out there, and life still ends up in a horrible way. Things just happen sometimes. So the poem, if you just read it at face value and you just listen to the narrator, when he tells you that he took the road less traveled by, you're going to think that the poem is about being brave, making your own decisions, standing apart from the crowd. And I can see why you would believe that, but that is not at all what the poem is saying because the narrator is lying to us. He didn't take the road less traveled by. This poem is about making a decision because sometimes you just don't know what decision is the best decision, because in the poem the narrator is like looking as far as he can down the road. He's trying to find anything at all. He's looking at the grass, footprints, leaves, the tree, anything, but he just can't tell. And so he just pretty much just chose a road at random, and life ended up the way it ended up. There was no insight that he had. He didn't have some type of insight that just made everything great. He just chose at random, and somehow life did end up well because he does tell us, he tells us that it made a difference, but there's no way of really knowing because maybe he could have chosen the other road and the same thing that happened in the other road would have happened in that road. There's no way of knowing. So in fundamentally, the central message that this poem delivers is that life happens, things just happen, they happen at random. We can't really control life and what happens in it. So make your decisions, but don't put everything in them because sometimes things just don't work out. So that's my summary analysis of The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.